Think about this for a second. A CEO walking a tightrope stretched between two skyscrapers. Now forget the safety net. Down below, you've got a storm of cyber threats, financial black holes, and yeah, global pandemics. That tightrope, that's what running a business is like today. So we're going to explore why so many companies lose their balance and how the really smart ones manage to make it all the way across.
First things first, let's be real. Massive, world-shaking crises are not some rare, once-in-a-generation event anymore. They're the new normal. Just look at this. Since 2000, we've had the dot-com bubble burst. 9/11 completely changed everything. The 2008 financial meltdown, a pandemic that literally shut down the planet. And now, we're grappling with bank failures and the wild, unpredictable world of generative AI. This isn't a series of isolated shocks. It's a constant wave of disruption that just keeps coming.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Risks aren't these far-off possibilities anymore. They're woven into the fabric of our daily lives. But here's the crazy part. Even with all these alarm bells going off constantly, so many companies are still getting caught completely off guard. They're stuck reacting to yesterday's crisis instead of preparing for tomorrow's. And the big question is, why? So that's what we're digging into first. Welcome to the anatomy of a corporate failure. We're going to pop the hood and look at the common, often hidden, flaws that can bring even the biggest, most powerful companies crashing down.
You know, when you actually dissect these corporate disasters, it's amazing how often you find the same culprits. It's almost always a cocktail of terrible governance, a culture where no one cares about risk, this blind faith in complicated models, a total lack of transparency, and just a complete failure to look up and see the giant iceberg right in front of them. These aren't just honest mistakes. They're deep, systemic problems that eventually become fatal.
Let's make this real. It's like a tale of two companies, and the differences is just night and day. On one side, you have the poster child for disaster, Enron, a complete and total collapse, fueled by pure fraud and a board that was basically asleep at the wheel. $74 billion of value just gone. Then, on the other side, you've got a company like Infosys, which is famous for its rock-solid governance. That reputation for transparency isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a core reason investors trust them, and the company keeps growing.
And listen, this isn't just about crooks cooking the books. Take Wells Fargo. The pressure from the top to hit these insane sales goals created this incredibly toxic culture. So what happened? Employees opened millions of fake accounts just to keep their jobs. And the worst part? The board knew something was wrong. They ignored whistleblowers. The price tag for that? Over $3 billion in fines and a $30 billion haircut on their market value. It's a textbook case of how a rotten culture leads straight to financial ruin. Or look at Jet Airways. This wasn't one big scandal. It was more like a slow, painful burn. You had poor financial management, a total lack of transparency about how bad things were, and a board that just wasn't independent enough to say no to bad decisions. Eventually, this airline, which was a huge industry leader, just ran out of road. It shows that weak governance isn't always about crime. Sometimes it's just about bad strategy and a failure to manage the fundamentals.
Okay, so we've seen plenty of what goes wrong. Enough of the doom and gloom. Let's flip the script and talk about how to get it right. How do the best companies in the world stay on that tightrope? It's time to open up the modern risk playbook.
The absolute core of this new playbook is a huge shift in mindset called Enterprise Risk Management, or ERM. And if there's one word you need to remember, it's integrated. This is not about having a department of no stuck in some back office. It's about weaving risk awareness into everyone's job, from the CEO down to the intern. It truly becomes part of the company's DNA. And the difference this makes is just massive. The old way was all about silos. You know, the finance team worried about financial risk, the IT team worried about cyber risk, but nobody was talking to each other. That created huge blind spots. ERM is the complete opposite. It's proactive, it's holistic, and it gives the leadership a full 360-degree view of every single risk facing the business. A really big piece of this is figuring out your risk appetite. And there's this brilliant, simple story about playing marbles that makes it so clear. The author says he was a great player, had thousands of marbles, but whenever he went to play, he only took 6 with him. Why? Because he decided ahead of time that 6 was the absolute maximum he was willing to lose in a single day. His risk appetite was 6 marbles. It's just a perfect way to think about how a company has to consciously decide how much it's willing to put on the line to hit its targets. So how do you actually structure this in a big company? Well, the gold standard is this model called the 3 lines of defense. It's actually pretty simple. The first line, that's your frontline people, the ones doing the business. They own the risk. The second line, those are your experts, the risk and compliance folks who keep an eye on things. And that third line, that's your internal audit team. They're the totally independent watchdogs who tell the board if the first two lines are actually doing their jobs right.
Now, that playbook is powerful stuff on its own, but today it's getting supercharged by technology. And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, digitalization. Think of it as the high-tech, gyro-stabilized balancing pole that helps companies walk that tightrope with confidence.
So this is where it gets really cool. How exactly are companies using all this new tech to not just manage risk, but to actually get ahead of it, to see around corners and react at the speed of light? First up, just finding the risk. Digital tools can now scan insane amounts of data. We're talking market trends, social media chatter, global news feeds, to spot threats as they're just starting to bubble up. AI can detect subtle patterns that no team of humans could ever hope to see. You can even have sensors on a factory floor that flag a safety risk the second it happens.
Okay, but spotting a risk is one thing. What about stopping it in its tracks? Well, AI can now monitor a borrower's spending to flag financial trouble early. It can spot and block a fraudulent credit card transaction in milliseconds. Get this, some insurers are now using AI to scan photos from a car wreck and approve the claim in just a few minutes. We're moving from slow reaction to real-time prevention.
And this tech isn't just for the front lines, it's completely changing the boardroom. Instead of waiting a month for some giant 100-page report, board members can now pull up a secure digital dashboard on their iPad and see risk data in real time. They can automate compliance with constantly changing rules, and they can track really complex stuff, like their company's carbon footprint, giving them a much, much clearer view of the business's overall health.
So you might be wondering, okay, this all sounds great, but is it worth the investment? Well, let's talk numbers. According to IBM, companies that use these kinds of proactive AI-driven systems save, on average, $1.5 million per data breach. So yeah, this isn't just about avoiding a catastrophe. It's about creating real, tangible financial value.
So we've seen how companies fall and how they can succeed by using a modern playbook supercharged by technology. But that leaves us with one final and, I think, pretty deep question to chew on. As we build these incredible, powerful, automated systems to protect us, is our biggest risk in the future going to be trusting them too much? That right there is the new tightrope we're all going to have to learn to walk. Thanks for joining me.